It is the John Phillips Show, and it's the Fix California Hour. Johnny is on vacation. He'll be back on Monday. It's Randy Wang here, and the number to join us is 800-222-5222. Up and down the state of California, 800-222-5222. You can email us at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com and search for the John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts. Our next guest is the newly elected vice chair of the LA GOP. You've heard him on this show before when he was running for Congress. Dr. Alex Balekian, welcome back to the John Phillips Show.
Thanks, Randy. Appreciate it.
Hey, congrats on the new gig. So you are the vice chair of the LA GOP.
Yes, that is correct. I'm one of the vice chairs, and the LA GOP is actually the largest central committee of the Republican Party in the country. We're actually bigger than a lot of state Republican parties, about 1 million Republicans here, over 24 assembly districts. So we're just kind of there on the board helping out the individual assembly districts with voter registration and recruiting candidates from their local neighborhoods for the races.
Well, and what an important time to be doing that, considering what went on in the Assembly over the last week. Let's talk about what happened with AB 379, this bill that was originally written by career prosecutor Maggie Krell, who got elected to the Assembly. She's a Democrat, and she wanted to fix what was taken out last year, where it would be an automatic felony for someone to purchase a 16 or 17-year-old for sex. And it was the Burbank-Glendale Assemblyman, who is the head of the Public Safety Committee, Nick Schultz, that pretty much took all the teeth out of that bill. And then when the Republican Party decided to fight back, they decided to kick Maggie Krell off of her own bill. And then with all the backlash that happened when reporting came out about all this, they reversed course. What's been going on over there?
I mean, one of the big things that we did, Nick Schultz, our assembly member, had a town hall scheduled. This was luck. This was absolute luck that it was scheduled in the exact same week that Maggie Krell introduced her law, and then it was gutted by Nick Schultz single-handedly in committee. And it's crazy because they are both freshman assemblymen, right? Assembly members, but he somehow had the connections to be installed as the chair of the Public Safety Committee, and he single-handedly gutted this bill and took her off of it and shut her out. And it's laughable because he had said, oh, well, I want to put the brakes on this and I want to get more feedback, and we're going to wait until the autumn to get this to happen. And there was such an uproar at that pre-scheduled town hall that one of our constituents, she asked, as a mother, she said, how do you justify this? Let me get a show of hands about who doesn't like this, the fact that you're not treating 16 and 17-year-olds as minors, and it's not an automatic felony. And so there was this overwhelming uprising against what he did, and it was laughable because he was then interviewed by Ashley Zavala saying, oh, no, public feedback didn't make me change my mind. This was just the right thing to do. Absolute hogwash.
Well, yeah, no, he was asked by Ashley Zavala if public pressure led to this, and he said, no, this is what I wanted all along. He's the one that killed the bill in the first place and wouldn't give an explanation for it.
Precisely, and he said in that same interview, I don't understand why it's being delayed this long, why we waited so long to do this, when he's the one who said, I want to wait until the autumn to get more information. So he's talking out of both sides of his mouth, and we will be certain not to let him live it down when the next election comes very quickly on June 2nd, 2026.
I mean, that's the thing. These assembly terms are every 2 years, so we're already a little more than a year out from the primary, and it seems like this is now 3 years in a row, whether it's the state Senate or it's the Assembly, where elected members are shooting themselves in the foot by taking these indefensible positions because they assume that the public doesn't know or care what's going on. But as soon as they do find out what's going on in Sacramento, they're outraged.
Right, and it is our responsibility to let them know. A lot of people are busy with their jobs, their daily lives, working 2 jobs simply because things are so expensive, and life, especially in California, is so expensive with all of the taxes. So it's our job, not just as the LA GOP executive board, but also kind of me being a concerned citizen, getting out there on social media, putting the word out to people, letting them know like what is going on, and trying to, again, recruit people from the neighborhoods to rise up and run as good candidates, better candidates than these entrenched politicians that we're seeing.
I think we're speaking with Alex Balekian, Dr. Alex Balekian. He is one of the vice chairs of the LA GOP. He ran for Congress last year. How does that process work where you are, at this point, I assume we're in the point where we're trying to isolate and find people and recruit them to run for these offices? Because when we're talking about the assembly, people who run for these offices are relatively anonymous, and voter participation and voter turnout is so low that if you got someone that had enough groundswell of support, even if they're in the Republican Party in Los Angeles County, they could win.
Correct. So these people, like, for example, Nick Schultz was a city council member in Burbank, I think was the mayor of Burbank at the time that he was running, and that's the visibility that he had. So these are people who are known in the community. Again, you could be a small business owner that everybody knows. You could be the mayor of your local town, your municipality, and you can run. Or there's people like Maggie Krell who worked in the prosecutor's office, and that is how you make a name for yourself. So we encourage people to get in contact with their central committee. And if you go to lagop.org and send us a message, we can connect you with your central committees. Every assembly district has a central committee whose responsibility is to be where the rubber meets the road, where they integrate with the electorate, register people. Those Democrats or independents who want to re-register as Republicans can also do so. And those assembly district committees are the ones who interdigitate with the voters and find the people who would be good candidates.
So if there's somebody listening right now that happens to see what Nick Schultz pulled this week, and you live in parts of the eastern San Fernando Valley or Burbank or Glendale, you could contact the LA GOP if you want to nominate yourself, if you want to push yourself forward as someone that could run for that office, because we need people to be paying attention to these assembly seats and the state Senate seats, because the supermajority is providing us with no oversight about what happens in Sacramento.
Correct. And what I would like people to do is, even if they don't want to run, or if, let's say, they're too busy, but they still want to participate, we definitely need people to help us go out in the community, talk to people, re-register disgruntled independents, disgruntled Democrats as Republicans, so that we actually then close this gap that we have. Because in my assembly district, AD 44, it's only 20% Republican registration versus 50% Democratic registration. So it's these kinds of gaps that we want to close. And even if people don't have the time, for example, to be candidates, they can at least help us be volunteers and knock on doors.
We're speaking with Dr. Alex Balekian, who is the newly elected vice chair of the LA GOP. You look at some of our, not just in the statewide races and the assembly races, but going locally. You look at the destruction that is certain members of the LA City Council that got elected 4 years ago, whether it's Ulysses Hernandez, who has spent half of today arguing that the LAPD shouldn't have helicopters, or Hugo Soto Martinez that ignored a neighborhood's request to have the police deal with squatters that had turned a vacant home into a drug den full of prostitution and fires, and he did nothing till the place burned to the ground. These people got elected to these offices with very few votes. Ulysses won outright in her primary in 2022 with 16,000 votes in a district. There were way more people who could have participated in that election, and they chose not to. So these are the places where not only do you need to change the voter registration, because now you've had 4 years of Ulysses, and you got to imagine most of the constituents in the Highland Park, MacArthur Park area aren't exactly pleased with what she's done, because MacArthur Park has only gotten more dangerous. But there's got to be somebody out there that is ready to rise up and run against her, because it doesn't take that many votes to knock somebody out, and she's incredibly destructive.
You're absolutely right. It doesn't take that many votes. However, the far left progressives that have sunk their claws into LA City Council and all of government, all levels in LA, they are insane, but they are insanely organized and insanely dedicated. So they are the ones who go out and do the ballot harvesting. A lot of Republicans are remiss to do early voting or ballot harvesting, but that is where the winning happens. And that is exactly how the left has done it and capitalized. Now, in short of doing anything like voter ID, where you actually have to show your ID, especially when you register or even when you vote, we need to play by the rules. We need to exploit the situation, same as left is doing, and maximize our door-to-door efforts with ballot harvesting.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. How exactly do you combat the organization that we see with organizations like the Democrat Socialists of America, Los Angeles? Because it seems like there's still a lot of people staying home in these elections that maybe could be swayed one way or the other.
Right. What we're finding is all of these, quote, volunteers are actually paid. They are paid anywhere between $20 and $30 an hour. And a lot of these Soros-funded, quote, nonprofits are the ones who fund them. But again, on our Republican side, there are a lot of people who cry foul and they say voter fraud, and then they don't participate. That's not the way to overcome. We want to be something where it's too big to rig. And if all of us come out and we vote early, and we inspire our friends and neighbors who think like us also to vote rather than just sit there and gripe about things, that is how we're going to notch victories.
It is quite fascinating, isn't it, that in California, we've never made it easier to vote. They send you your ballot in the mail a month beforehand. You can either fill it out and mail it back or put it in a box or go to an early voting center, and it hasn't increased turnout one bit.
It has not. And actually, Randy, to be honest, I like that system of sending the ballots out, the paper ballots out a month prior. It's almost like, when we were in class, right? The Scantron forms were handed out and you had an hour to take the test, kind of think about the candidates, read about the candidates. But at the end, you actually brought up your paper. So I'm a big fan of sending the ballots out a month in advance. However, I would like that people bring them in themselves with their voter ID to prove that it was them that filled it out. Until we actually get to that point, we have to play by the rules, and the rules are set for us. And the Democrats do a very fine job of playing by the rules, and we got to catch up.
We're speaking with Dr. Alex Balekian. He is the newly elected vice chair of the LA GOP. What were some of the lessons that you learned from your race for Congress last year when you ran against Laura Friedman?
Some lessons we learned. So number one, math matters. So again, I had a district with only 25%, I think, Republicans. 16% Republican registration. 16% Republican registration. I got 32% of the vote. I doubled what was expected of us, but it was still not enough. So math matters. And there are a lot of people who just kind of want to run and they cry foul because they say, oh, it's voter fraud. Well, no, if you're starting with that big of a deficit, it's a big mountain to climb, but not necessarily impossible. Number two, all politics are local and all voting is emotional. So rather than talking about tariffs, rather than talking about things in Washington, what we really need to focus on as a party, if we expect to have changes here in California, are the high gas prices, the high taxes. In Glendale, I am ripping the city council a new one because they voted to raise everybody's electricity rates and everybody's crying foul saying, I can barely afford to live in my own home. So those are the kinds of local issues that we need to be focusing on that are going to win our elections. We should not focus on tariffs, national stuff, DOGE, things like that. It's local things that matter.
I think you make a really strong point. If you'd like to follow him on Twitter, you can do so at Alex Balekian. That's Alex, Balekian. Dr. Alex Balekian, the newly elected vice chair of the LA GOP. Thank you so much for coming on. And as soon as you isolate and figure out who's going to be running in some of these very important local races, whether it's for Assembly or State Senate or LA City Council, Glendale City Council, send them on over because it's time to get the grassroots organizing happening at the same level that it's happening on the other side and put some balance back in Los Angeles.
Thank you so much, Randy. Yes, I appreciate that help.
If you'd like to email us, you could do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And this one comes from listener H. This is incredible. There's a show on CBS called FBI Most Wanted, which is a crime procedural show. And a lot of these crime procedural shows, they tend to rip some of their stories from the headlines. It makes for very easy writing. Take what's going on, change a few key details. But in FBI Most Wanted's most recent episode, according to our listener, the episode is about a corrupt mayor who's involved with a corrupt sanitation department. Oh, she's Asian, by the way. And she stages her own kidnapping to embezzle money. Doesn't this sound a little like Shang Tao?
Absolutely.
Let's listen to a little bit of the promo.
CBS in 2 weeks.
Mayor Yang faked her own kidnapping to escape arrest.
Only 2 episodes left.
FBI!
Until this
And the episode is called Trash Day, and it involves a corrupt recycling company. Yeah, that hits a little close to home, doesn't that, Shaggy? It is pretty great that a TV show saw what went on in Oakland with the raid of Sheng Tao's home and figured out how to change just enough things to not make it the exact story, but realized that there's something there. I love it. Maybe one of the writers for that show listens to the John Phillips show. How great would that be? Hey, let's go to Dan listening in Sonoma. Dan, hello.
Randy, good to talk to you again. Your last guest hit home with me, and I appreciate his efforts like you can't believe. Let me explain. I was second vice chairman of the Sonoma County Republican Party almost 15 years ago. I was very conservative, very involved. I attended meeting after meeting, not just the Central Committee, but conservative meetings, Tea Party meetings, that sort of thing. We were harassed like you can't believe. This is back in the days when Obama weaponized the IRS and harassed groups like us. And it was very intimidating. To this day, the IRS and those people responsible never paid a price. But I'm calling because when I was so involved, I tried to get my conservative friends to join me. I said, look, this is what I'm doing here. We've got to try to save our country. I was very serious about it. And all I got across the board was, I'm so busy. I can't, I got this to do, I got that to do. Dan, you go sick 'em. And I almost lost friends because of this, because I thought, well, wait a minute, you're talking a good game here. But regarding action, you're not willing to do anything. And that was so frustrating about the whole thing, because, you want this country operates by people that want to volunteer and get involved. And when you have a lackluster participation, as we did back in those days, and I don't know if that's still true or not, the country falls apart. And one last thing before I let you go, the Republican Party at the time, it's not what you think. It's not a huge party. It's not a huge group. We gather in some, in some large venue. You've got some people that are lackluster. You've got some people that are fairly smart, but they're moderate, not conservative. And you had some of the dumbest people volunteering. I mean, people that couldn't put two sentences together. And these were the candidates that ran for Congress or whatever else they were trying to run for. It was extremely eye-opening and disappointing.
And we've seen a lot of that up and down the state over the last 10 years. Even with as bad as the government gets, if you're not running a good candidate and you're not organizing and you're not getting people involved, it's not going to go anywhere. Thanks so much for the call, Dan. Appreciate it. It's now time to open up the California Crime Blotter. And this time we've got a smash and grab in San Jose. What happened here? Well, a gas station got keyed. For more, here's Cron 4.
San Jose police are investigating a burglary in North San Jose where 3 to 4 suspects drove a car into
I don't know yet if it's a Kia, but I can assume.
Into a gas station and took off with an ATM. Thanks for joining us at 10 o'clock. I'm Dan Thorne.
And I'm Noelle Bell.
I don't know about you, but I think if I was a small business owner, whether you own a convenience store, a gas station, a mini mart, a liquor store, I think at this point, having an ATM in your store does you more harm than good.
I'm Dan Thorne.
And I'm Noelle Bello. It all went down shortly before 6 o'clock this morning at the Valero gas station on Montague Expressway and Harris Way. Cron 4's Jack Mulmut joining us live now at the scene with the very latest details. Jack.
Yeah, that's right, Noelle. The owners of this Valero gas station say that as long as they've owned this place, this corner has always been a pretty safe neighborhood for them until you see what's happening here behind me. Thieves breaking into this wall here using a suspected stolen car with repairs still going on this evening.
Yeah, it used to be you smash a couple of windows, you do your damage, you steal what you need to steal. You have to replace the glass, but that's one thing. But now that we've decided that the preferred mode of breaking in is by stealing a car, driving into a business, and then abandoning it, repairs often cost more than whatever they stole.
Has the owners of this place rethinking safety here in San Jose.
If it's not as Oakland, but we are getting close to Oakland by now.
AJ Singh has owned.
Whoa. That is not something you want to hear about San Jose.
Not as Oakland, but we are getting close to Oakland by now.
We're not as bad as Oakland, but we're getting close to Oakland right now. That is not what you want to hear. nobody wants to be compared to Oakland in that sense. For the food scene, sure. But this, no.
If it's not as Oakland, but we are getting close to Oakland by now.
AJ Singh has owned this Valero gas station off Montague and Harris since January. He says he didn't expect to be targeted the way he did Wednesday morning.
Well, if you own a gas station, you will be targeted. That is one of the places where they seem to want to go after and steal all the cigarettes, and then who knows where they're actually selling the cigarettes? I guess at the flea market.
Multiple times they hit it in order to get the ATM get pulled out from the structure on the bottom.
Thieves used this car to bust into the shop just before 6 in the morning. Singh tells us police told him the car was stolen from Oakland.
Oh, no. And it does show you whether you live in, and you would arguably, you could definitely say San Jose is a safer city than Oakland. San Jose is a large city, but when you are so close to such a dangerous place, the crime does radiate out of its origin point. How many criminals decide to go commit crimes right on the border of L.A. County and San Bernardino County, or L.A. County and Orange County, and they didn't even realize the cross-county lines and realize that, oh, no, they take law enforcement a little more seriously here.
6 o'clock in the morning, it's a daylight. A lot of people, and this street is so busy off it. And what are we talking about with the city, San Jose, and then we're talking about County of Santa Clara. We're talking about California, Governor, what are you doing?
The suspects not only
this guy's not happy.
The suspects not only made off with the ATM, but merchandise in the store as well.
Well, of course. They're not just going to steal the ATM. They got to get them ciggies and lotto tickets.
And repair estimates are soaring. Singh's being quoted $80,000 to $90,000.
And good luck. Nobody can file for insurance because you will lose your insurance over it.
To fix the structure and the electronics.
And I got to imagine when you own a gas station, your margins are very slim. Can you really afford a $100,000 hit knowing that this could happen again?
I was sitting in it having my tea this morning, and I couldn't even drink my tea.
Now I feel real bad. This guy couldn't even have his tea.
That time when I got a call from my alarm company.
He also owns this liquor store in Campbell. It got hit the same way 2 months ago. San Jose.
This guy's having a bad month.
San Jose police told Cron 4 News in a statement, quote, "Unfortunately, this is not the first incident of a vehicle being used to force entry into a store."
And I don't really know how exactly we stop this. I don't know exactly how we stop this trend that has exploded in the last 5 years of using a stolen car, as a battering ram. I don't know what could you put up bollards in front of every single storefront that prevent that crash from happening? Maybe. I know they tried that in Union Square this holiday season in San Francisco. Do we have to outfit every single car on the road with emergency brake detection like they have on new cars that try to prevent you from rear-ending someone on the freeway? And maybe the car, if you try to ram it into a building, it won't let you? I don't know. And these crimes usually happen so quickly, even if there are police to respond, they're usually gone. Except for in Oakland when they're still there and the police can't chase them.
However, this tactic or any tactic used to commit burglaries in San Jose will be investigated by our detectives to identify and locate those responsible.
Safety is our priority, should be the number one, no matter what it is.
Singh blames the state of California for not having stricter laws to prosecute criminals.
Well, there is that. I mean, do we need to have enhancements for using a car as a battering ram? I mean, do we need to have kill switches that we can kill stolen cars as soon as we find out that they're stolen? Okay, that's an interesting one, actually.
Completely hard to believe, this could happen.
Imagine if every single car that was on the road was registered to your phone. The way that if you have a Tesla, the Tesla is tied to the app, and that's actually how you unlock the car. What if, as soon as you find out that your car was stolen, you could remotely disable the vehicle? I mean, yeah, it'd be a pain in the ass, but you at least could prevent your car from being used as a battering ram.
Completely hard to believe, this could happen in the daylight, in the presence of the customers. We need a friendly business law, not the friendly criminal law.
Well, in order to get that, we're going to need to elect some new people in Sacramento. And hey, there's an election coming up next year.
Yeah, so far there have been no arrests named in this burglary that took place earlier this morning, but you can see crews still here working hard to repair the damage that has been done. A little glimmer of hope, though, is that the thieves did leave behind that car that was reportedly stolen.
There's no value in this anymore. Like it used to be, you steal a car to strip it for parts and then you light it on fire in Oakland. Now you steal a car, use it as a battering ram, and you abandon the thing. I don't know how we go back. Maybe we can't go back. This is just life now.
The thieves did leave behind that car that was reportedly stolen. The hope is they could connect that car back to wherever it was stolen from and lead these owners a little bit closer to finding justice here. For now, reporting live in San Jose, Jack Mulmet, Cron 4 News.
There you go. It's happening in San Jose. A car was stolen in Oakland, driven into a San Jose gas station. That poor guy. Let's reopen the California Crime Blotter. Today's California Crime Blotter is brought to you by... Oh, that would be a great idea, actually. Should have it brought to you by 911. Please call 911 if you are a victim of a crime. But we're looking for a real sponsor, so that would be awesome. Hey, San Jose, we're not done with you because a police officer got stabbed by a homeless person, and shocker, he had a record. For more, here's NBC in the Bay Area.
He has a dangerous past, a scary reputation. That's what we're learning about the man arrested for stabbing a San Jose police officer near a Target store yesterday. Police say the man has an extensive criminal history. He now faces 2 new charges of attempted murder.
You know, when we have all these homeless encampments and we send out service providers and try to connect people to housing, can we just check to see who has open warrants against them? Wouldn't that be nice? Isn't it funny that when you see Daniel Lurie put out those big drug den arrests that 30% of the people they arrested had an outstanding warrant?
NBC Bears Robert Hondo joins us now from near that store where police say, Robert, that this began with that man waving a machete at security.
Where does everyone get these machetes?
We're at the Target parking lot near Autumn Parkway where the man was confronted by officers and ultimately stabbed one with a knife. The man stayed at this homeless encampment across the street, and we're told that because of this incident, it will now get swept soon. It
should have been swept earlier.
It was a hectic scene outside the Target store on Coleman Avenue when police arrested this man who they say was intoxicated and pulled a machete on store security officers.
But these are just our unhoused neighbors. Now, I know that Matt Mahan has a zero tolerance for this nonsense, but you can only do so much.
He reportedly dropped the machete and ran off before officers caught and arrested him, but only after a violent struggle. The suspect was identified today as 41-year-old Eli Scott. He was arrested near the homeless encampment where he lived and had a scary reputation.
Even the unhoused people are afraid of him.
This is what we allow on our streets. No, they're all just people who the plant shut down. No, they're not.
You know, he's been around, and unhoused don't want to be around him because they're afraid that he might do something to them.
Police say...
This is why they're all on meth.
Police say Eli Scott stabbed one officer in the arm with a knife, which will require surgery, and attacked the other officer.
Unfortunately, because of either luck, the grace of God, or maybe because of the uniform he was wearing, that it just barely missed the second officer, but his attempts were there. It was very deliberate stabbing motions for the 2 officers. So this wasn't a chance stabbing because of a struggle on the floor. This was a very deliberate act by the suspect.
According to records shared by the mayor's office, Eli Scott has a violent criminal history of 4 felony convictions, including 2 for family violence and assault with a deadly weapon.
And why was he out on the streets? Gavin Newsom, California legislature, CDCR, parole board. Was it really a great idea to let someone like this out of prison and put them out on the street?
Scott also has numerous misdemeanor convictions, including a previous altercation with police and use of meth.
We used to have zero tolerance for this kind of behavior. Maybe it's time to rethink all of this.
Mayor Matt Mahan says that...
Were we really so bad off when people who did meth were serving 10 to 20 years in prison?
Mayor Matt Mahan says the case shows the justice system needs to do a better job, and pointed out he's heard from store employees the nearby encampment is a source of problems.
It's also a reminder that it is not humane, safe, or sustainable to leave thousands of people in unmanaged tent encampments indefinitely.
This is why Matt Mahan, to his credit, is going to start arresting people that refuse the housing. But you know what? We've got to start figuring out who is the criminal element in every homeless encampment and get them the hell out of our cities.
Unhoused advocates say that.
Oh, boy. You know, they always have to be fair and balanced and bring one of these advocates. These advocates are a big part of the problem.
Unhoused advocates say that's not fair.
Eli should not represent every unhoused person. Not every unhoused person is a druggie.
Well, I got to save that. She said druggie.
Is a druggie.
Yes, but more of them are druggies than not druggies.
Or an alcoholic. Or a criminal.
Today, city officials confirmed that this encampment was targeted for a sweep this summer, but that timetable has now been moved up because of this incident, and it could occur within a week. Scott.
We always talk about sweeping homeless encampments and clearing them out. How about we send heavily armed police to every encampment once a week just to see how much illegal contraband is there, whether it's illegal weapons, illegal drugs, and we arrest the people that are doing that. Even if it's a freaking misdemeanor, we've got Prop 36 now. Anyone that has got meth on their possession, get them out now. Hey, we get time for one more crime blotter. And this edition takes us to the other part of the bay in Oakland. You can't make this up. This is one of those Oakland stories. A shootout occurs in Oakland that ended up damaging a pipe that flooded a school cafeteria. Nobody was seriously hurt, but this is as Oakland as it gets. Let's go to KTVU, Fox 2.
Well, Claudine, luckily the shooting happened early in the morning, hours before students reported for class. Now, although the gunfire happened off campus, it did cause the cafeteria on campus to flood.
We're so cavalier about all of this. Shootings are so common in Oakland, which we're aware of. Two gang members who I guess didn't get convinced to do their vision board by the life coaches at Ceasefire shot at each other until one bullet hit a pipe that exploded in a school cafeteria.
This is water raining down the side of the cafeteria at Lockwood Steam Academy in East Oakland as a result of a shooting nearby before dawn.
One of those bullets entered our building, the cafeteria here, and it pierced a pipe that caused a flood.
The cafeteria had recently been remodeled, but Oakland school spokesman John Sasaki says the damage was limited thanks to firefighters who noticed the flowing water.
That really, no question, saved us from further damage, so we want to thank Oakland Fire Department for being really Johnny on the spot for us there and making sure that this is taken care of.
It all happened.
And they sure were probably taking cover as well. How often do shootouts just break out?
It all happened at about 4:45 Wednesday morning. Oakland police responded to ShotSpotter reports of gunfire near 70th and Herbert Geist Way.
Remember they were going to discontinue that program?
Officers scoured the scene for evidence. Numerous yellow markers littered the intersection. Our cameras spotted this Toyota Prius riddled with bullets right outside Bethel Baptist Church at 69th and Herbert Geist.
Holy cow! You know, you don't get to say often riddled with bullets. But when you do, you go for it.
Our cameras spotted this Toyota Prius riddled with bullets right outside Bethel Baptist Church at 69th and Herbert Geist, which sits directly across the street from the elementary school's cafeteria.
It's an active war zone, and Barbara Lee will love to tout ideas like Project Ceasefire, where we're going to intervene and talk these people down from having these retaliatory gang shootings. And my response to that is, so that means you know who the gang members are, you know where they are, and that you know that they all have illegal guns. How about we round them up and put them in prison? They don't want to do it? Let's get the feds involved.